Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Let us, as we come together today, let us do the work for the citizens and the county of Sutter. Let us make the decisions that are the betterment of our community and our county. Let us remember the first responders who are going out and protecting us every day. And let us also remember those 3 fallen Cal firefighters who died in a helicopter crash. Let us also, as the Mormon temple opens next door, may they do God's work for many years to come. In Jesus' name we pray, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
We could have Carol Ulrich. If you could please join us up front. Yeah. All right, we have a special appreciation, certificate of appreciation from the board. All right, Carol began her service with Sutter County Child Welfare Services as a social worker here March of 2013. Carol was soon promoted to social worker 2 and then to social worker 3. During this time, she worked with children and families in the ongoing unit, helping families to stay together, children to reunify with parents and find permanent families if they were not able to return home to their parents. She also worked with older youth, ages 16 through 21, in the independent living programs as a coordinator and as a case manager to that age group. Carol has assisted the older youth in transitional housing plus programs, coordinated services with the community-based provider. In 2017, Carol was promoted to social worker supervisor 1, where she provided oversight in the adults in home supportive services, IHSS program, providing the QA services. Carol was also instrumental in the development and operations of the Family Resource Approval Program, formerly known as the Foster Care Listening. At this time, Carol is enrolled in the MSW 3 years distance learning program at Chico State and graduated with distinctions in May of 2021. During her MSW internship, Carol worked on developing a training program for special workers. Carol was promoted to social worker supervisor 2 after receiving her MSW. Carol has been a leader on many work groups tackling numerous issues that are targeted in the system's improvement plans, and she has made significant contributions to many initiatives in child welfare. Currently, Carol supervises the emergency response unit of social workers who are our front-end social workers investigating child abuse and neglect. Carol has a passion and drive for this very challenging work, which she has sustained for over 10 years and continues her dedication to the safety and well-being of children and families in our community. And we're forever thankful and grateful to have her here on behalf of the board and all the county with this token of appreciation from us to you. So congratulations.
Just wanted to say thank you to the board for recognizing me and to the leadership team at HHS. You guys have always been very supportive of me all the way through for the last 10 years. To my team that I supervise, you guys are awesome. You make every day coming to work enjoyable. And to my husband and my parents who came and watched, just wanted to say thanks for putting up with a job that can kind of take me away from, you know, daily life and phones ringing in the middle of the night and interrupting family dinners and things. And I appreciate you all and all your support.
Would you like to add to it? We're gonna pass the microphone. Could we have all of your team members and your family, your husband and your parents, if y'all could come up here for a group photo, please? Yes.
Yeah, come on up, everybody. The price is right. Oh, no, that's different. Oh, that's come on down. Thank you for correcting me. Just as everybody's gathering, I just wanted to say a couple of words of thanks to Carol for being in Child Welfare Services for 10 years plus. It's a very challenging job to do, and she does it very gracefully and graciously. And during this time that she's been with us, she, as you talked about, she received her master's in social work from Chico State, right? I had to remember that piece, but yeah, in 2021, and that was a very, come on in, Mum. So just to say thank you very much, and thank you to our support team who are here and to her family.
Here, you guys go get it.
All right. Keep squishing up.
While everybody's assembling again, we just want to thank Carol for 10 years of her life. That's a decade supporting and serving Sutter County. I'm the Health and Human Services Director, and this gave everybody time giving this thanks to get into the picture. So hopefully if you can see Chuck, he can see you, and we'll get in the picture.
All right, if we could have April Tate please join us. Come on down. All right, we have a certificate of recognition that we're going to be presenting to the Homeless Engagement and Resolution Team, the HEART Team. The Homeless Engagement and Resolution Team, also known as the HEART Team, has provided outreach to all homeless individuals in both Sutter and Yuba counties since 2020. The HEART Team is a street outreach program designed to identify, engage, and assess homeless individuals for services available throughout Sutter and Yuba counties. Homeless individuals are connected to coordinated entry sites and are provided support in accessing resources such as transportation, obtaining IDs, medical appointments, and any other help necessary to aid the individual in obtaining housing. They actively work with the county and city law enforcement agencies in both counties to engage individuals identified as needing help. Through their efforts, 547 individuals have been connected, many of whom engaged in mental health and substance abuse services offered by community resources, including those provided by Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health. The Sutter County Board of Supervisors wishes to recognize the excellent work performed and the many lives touched by HEART. Consequently, This certificate of recognition is provided to members of this team as a symbol of appreciation and support for the work that you do on a day-to-day basis. Thank you for all that you do.
Okay, sure. I just want to thank everybody that supports the Heart Team, the staff that I have that go out and work endless hours and in conditions that most folks wouldn't dare to, and the services that are also in support of us within both counties, Anthem, law enforcement, all of the public service agencies that support us in our efforts to reduce homelessness in our counties. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So again, just want to really recognize April and Licia, and we go out and go out and go out and go out and go out. Sometimes we'll go out and work with somebody 70 times before they feel comfortable to come into a behavioral health service, and this is the team that does that. And Supervisor Flores, they are the heart, in the heart, and all parts of Sutter County, just want to let you know. So thank you so much. And Betsy, any thoughts?
I just love what these guys do. They're always out there, and like April alluded to, they're out there when it's raining, it's pouring, and no one wants to be out there.
Thank you.
All right, if we have Michael Johnson, please join us down here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a proclamation that we're going to present to Yuba-Sutter Off the Leash Dog Park. So Yuba-Sutter Off the Leash Dog Park, August of 2023. Dogs have been loyal companions to humans for centuries, providing love, support, and joy to countless individuals and families. The establishment of the public spaces that promote community engagement, outdoor recreation, and responsible pet ownership is of great importance to the well-being of our residents. The Yuba-Sutter Off the Leash Dog Park was conceived in 2005 in Sutter County to provide a safe and designated area for dogs to exercise and socialize, and encourages responsible dog ownership by providing a controlled environment for dogs to interact with other pets and their owners, helping to build a sense of community among dog lovers and the collaborative efforts of local community members and pet enthusiasts have been instrumental in the creation and maintenance of this valuable community asset. And the Sutter County Board of Supervisors proclaims August 2023 as National Dog Month in Sutter County and recognizes the Yuba-Sutter Off the Leash Dog Park and their volunteers. So thank you very much. Oh, we've got one right here.
I will let you know that the off-the-leash dog park does have a small dog area. So if you have a dog this size, we have an area where you can bring the little dogs too, so the big dogs don't bother them or the little dogs don't attack the big dogs. Can you mind if I say a few words?
No, please, that's why I didn't use the mic.
The dog park is located at 2050 Wild River Drive in Yuba City. It's down by Shanghai Bend. I have to thank Caltrans. The property that we have is 5 acres. It's an off-the-leash dog park, so when you bring your dogs in, you let them go, let them run, let them play, let them socialize. And I can tell you that the biggest problem that you'll ever have with your dog is lack of activity. You bring them down to the park, you let them run and play with the other dogs, you will have a much better dog to deal with and probably less holes in your lawn. We're also a nonprofit organization. Everybody that's on the board and everybody that helps maintain the park is a volunteer. The board members I have with me tonight are Tom Barnes, Terry Wright, and my wife Donna, and also Colleen. What's Colleen's last name? Colleen Leary are the five board members. And if you ever get a chance to come down there, we'd appreciate your help and also donations. We have events every so often, so bring your dogs down. Both you and your dogs will have a great time. Thank you.
Rocky, thank you for letting us borrow your dog there for the photo op. Awesome. Alrighty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now moving on to the public comment portion of the agenda here. Members of the public will be allowed to address the board on items of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors. State law provides that no discussion or action may be taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. I have several speaker cards. We'll start off. First we have Diane Jager. So I have two cards, but they're both for public comment. So if you just could combine the two for 3 minutes, thank you.
Chair and members, thank you. First of all, I'd like to do a short follow-up on the fireworks. Some additional information. I did some research. Actually, as pretty recently, California law now permits fines up to $50,000 and a year in jail. Sacramento has upped theirs recently, started at $1,000 all the way up to $5,000 and then above. Visalia starts at $2,000. El Dorado, they're going for the big guns and saying, you know what, we're going to whack you with whatever. One of the things that they did, this is brand new, and I highly recommend this, because one of the comments made by law enforcement was that it's hard for reporting, is that they have launched a new mobile application, and they're encouraging the public to go on. You can report the illegal fireworks, you can view community alerts, all of things on this access. It would help it, make it more. This is a thing that, as I've researched, every county is going up the same thing. A lot of counties are pulling that. I've spoke to city council members, a couple of members of the city council about this, that they were like, we're just going to ban it. And I said, that's then punishes the citizens, the law-abiding citizens. That does not do it. And the bigger fines, the $50,000 in some of the areas, that's going after how they're coming in, the transportation and the year in jail. So that's just some input on possibly how rectifying the issue. The second topic that I would like to, and my time starts over again because it's a little bit more, I'd like to address.
So the time's going to continue. You get one speaker, you get 3 minutes to.
Okay. All right. So the project U22-0033, the Telespan Communications Tower, proposed at Sutter High School. Let's first of all, if you do not know this already, the stockholders in all of these cell companies, communication companies, are notified as part of buying stock in there that of the liability for all of this. We, the citizens, are not, the people that use the phones. They are actually, since 1997, carriers have not been able to get insurance. They are not liable for any damages. Hundreds of scientists throughout the world have studied, have put this down, that it's factual. Wi-Fi, cell phones, and 5G in the classroom, as well as cell towers on school property, present serious liability issues. Have the residents of Sutter been notified about this proposed tower that is on Sutter High School property. The insurers rank 5G and electromagnetic.
Sorry.
I only get 3 minutes?
Yes.
Thing? Okay.
Yep.
One comment. Mr. Ziegemeyer, you're going to have children going to Sutter High School.
Alrighty, next speaker is Stephanie Rusigno.
We actually put in 2 cards, one for me, I'm Raquel Wright, known as Rocky, and then Steph. And we were requested by the president of New California to come here today to talk about the electronic voting machines. And we are hoping to have this county go along with Shasta County. They're getting very close in Riverside County. All 58 counties, we are working to get rid of these machines. What we have been told, and I've even read a paper from Department of Defense, that these machines are illegal. They can be manipulated by phones. But what Department of Defense said is they're illegal because they have Chinese parts in them. And we're just here, we don't want selection, we want election. We want people to come and vote in person. I mean, once you get a mail-in ballot, you have lost the chain of custody. We also have had many speakers, many knowledgeable people throughout the United States meeting with us and how they do algorithms to manipulate our votes. And the major algorithm is I think it's a 70-30.
Fractionated votes.
Yeah, so they fractionate the votes, and they're able to do that through the manipulation because our devices are electronic. And there is quite a high fee that for Dominion, which I believe we have in this county, there's 2 other companies, they charge a high price, a much higher price. So we want same-day voting. That's what we're requesting. Not this 29 days before or however weeks after. I mean, we used to have that, and it worked very well. So as I said, we're just representing New California State. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I talk too?
Yes. Rocky had a card there. Speaking on, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, she's the head assemblywoman for Sutter County, and as you know, she's a 28-year colonel with a Bronze Star and all kinds of accolades, but she's a brainiac, especially on math, which I avoid like the plague. At any rate, that's what it's all about, is fractionated votes. The winner is predetermined, and we've got proof all over if you care to look at it. But I don't want to waste your time on that, because math to me is a 4-letter word, but that's what it is. The Department of Defense had ruled long before the Dominion machines that we could not have any parts in critical infrastructure from our adversaries. Right now, could we think of a bigger threat than Communist Chinese Party? And that's what is based on our voting machines. Before the voting machines, our Department of Defense already identified, you can't do that. You can't have our enemy in charge of our elections. That's the cornerstone of freedom. One person, one vote, period. But you have to be eligible. And I can't think of anything fair than on paper.
Out and canvassed in person.
Right, and we've got volumes of information, ground pounding and canvassing. Houses that have 20 people coming. I found out my son voted in Sacramento in 2020. Trouble is, he died in 2017. I don't know how he pulled that off, but he's not the only one, where they'll take the dead, turned into the states, go other places, where they take signatures and go other places, where they fractionated. For the Trump, it was, one vote for Trump was 0.7, whereas one vote for Biden was 1.3. Some places it was too overwhelming. But the bottom line is, we want to be responsible for who we vote for. And if they turn out to be a dud, it's on us.
not on some algorithm from some machine. Foreign shores. Other countries have got rid of their electronic machines. Poulos, who is the CEO of Dominion, flatly says they're going to go bankrupt. And if you look at the numbers, paper ballots are a lot cheaper. They have breached the contract with us. So if you're worried about a couple of dollars, what you save on their software for a machine that isn't on the internet, give me a break. Nobody's that stupid, not even me. We want our vote to be recorded accurately, fairly, and a couple years from now, we want to prove, yeah, this is the chain of custody, this is what we've voted, this is how it counted. Right now, we don't have that. And the canvassing shows that that is the case. And the numbers, 3,000 some odd counties throughout the United States, can't be all wrong. Well, anyway, please get rid of Dominion and go to paper ballots to save money and to save integrity.
Next speaker, Tony Farley.
We're also very proud to be part of Sutter County, by the way. And we're here to only do good.
Thank you.
Dominion is the farm plant in Virginia. Wow, that's funny for the Colonel. Okay, funny. Hey, I'm Tony Fry from South Sutter County. Here, talk about the fireworks. In LA County, it's a $50 fine now in LA County, Los Angeles County. So, yeah. Now back to the last meeting. On July 25th, I got assaulted by a druggie in Yuba County. Got assaulted there. And guys facing felony charges now for it. Big time felony. I got 2 felonies. One assault on the deputy, one assault on me, and one assault on the county official. That's 3 felonies. So the guy's going to prison for a long time. And he deserved it. When you assault people, you go to prison. And thank you for your service, all county police. You were the heroes during that day when I got assaulted. Thank you for your service, Carmen Baines. Thank you, sir. Mike Ziegler. Thank you, Darren Flores, Matt Cohen, Nicholas. Thank you. And thank you, Sheriff Barnes. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Next speaker card is Deborah DeRozier.
Are we on? Okay. Hi, I'm Deborah DeRozier. I also support same-day voting and paper ballots. Also, I'm here to continue with Diane Jaker's information about cell towers. U.S. mobile operators have been unable to get insurance to cover liabilities related to damages from long-term exposure of radio frequency emissions since 1997. Research on cell tower radiation. A 2017 study published in Electromagnetic Biology and Medicine found higher RFR exposures in people living near mobile phone-based stations was linked to changes in blood that are considered biomarkers predictive of cancer. In 2018, published in the American Journal of Men's Health, found school-aged adolescents exposed to higher levels of RFR exposure had delayed fine and gross motor skills, spatial working memory, and attention. A 2015 study published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health on elementary students found higher type 2 diabetes in students exposed to higher levels of RFR. A 2020 study recommended voluntarily restrictions be made on placement of cell phone-based stations within 500 meters of schools and hospitals. An analysis of studies found 80% showed biological effects near towers. Many biological effects have been documented at very low intensities comparable to what the population experiences within 200 to 500 feet of a cell. Effects reported included genetic, growth, and reproductive, increases in permeability of blood-brain barrier, behavioral, molecular, cellular, and metabolic, and increases in cancer risk. A 2021 study published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health found higher cell tower RFR radiation exposure linked to increased mortality of all for all cancers, including breast, cervical, lung, and esophagus cancers. A study from Germany found that the stress hormones adrenaline and noradrenaline significantly increased over the first 6 months after cell tower antenna activation, and after 18 months, dopamine. Studies show a link between lower dopamine levels and suicide, and PEA levels decreased. A study by a municipal health department and several universities in Brazil found a clearly elevated relative risk of cancer mortality at residential distances of 500 meters or less from cell phone towers. A review published in the International Journal of Occupational and Environmental Health of Epidemiological Studies found in 80% of studies, people living less than 500 meters from a base station had an increased adverse neurobehavioral symptoms and cancer.
All righty. I think that concludes our speaker cards. For right now, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar groups together those items which are considered non-controversial or for which prior policy direction has been given to staff and that require only routine action by the board. The chair will advise the audience that the matters may be adopted in total by one motion. However, the board may, at its option or upon request of a member of the public, consider any matter separately. So I'm looking for
move to approve items 1 through 23.
Yep, and we have to remove items 2 and 19.
Oh, and 19. Okay. 2 and 19 removed from 1 through 23.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Zigemeyer? Aye. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
All right, item number 24, we have an appearance item by Sheriff Barnes.
Presentation on the Sutter County Sheriff's Office 2022 Annual Report.
Good afternoon. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. This is the Sutter County Sheriff's Office Annual Report for calendar year 2022, which represents the end of my first full term of service as sheriff. This report is to serve as a reminder of what was accomplished, but also serves as a roadmap for what lies ahead. I'm honored to present this report to our Board of Supervisors as well as our community. This document will be posted on the Sheriff's Office website for our community to view. Additionally, it's also posted on our social media platforms, and there's already a link there if you'd like to go to that and view it. I'd like to acknowledge the men and the women of the Sheriff's Office for their hard work and their dedication to those that we serve. I'd like to thank Under Sheriff Smallwood as well as my executive assistant Jesslyn for the work that they did to bring this report together. 2022 was a difficult year in terms of our staffing levels, but I always feel that while each year presents a series of challenges, it's also an opportunity for growth and for accomplishment. This year's report celebrates what it means to be a public servant, and I think you'll see that highlighted throughout the report as we go through. So as we pull the report up, in the first few pages, you'll find an overview of our command staff, the values and the mottos, and the mission statement of the Sheriff's Department, along with some recognitions for our employees of the year. If we could go to page 7 real quick. I wanted to bring something to the attention of everyone. So you'll notice that there are a picture, if we could go down to page 7. Sorry, I know I'm being difficult here. That's 13. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Right there. Okay. So you'll notice that there's a picture there of 2 people that were incarcerated at the Sutter County Jail. And they agreed to be part of this report, celebrating both the completion of their GED and their food handler certificates. I think it's important that we take an opportunity to highlight the extensive programs that we have in our jail facility that are aligned to assist with rehabilitation, education, and teaching life skills to people while they're in our custody. We certainly try to make them better before we let them go back out into the community. And then moving forward onto page 8. There's a narrative addressing our staffing challenges and some photos of those that were hired throughout the course of the year. We certainly wanted to recognize them. On the right side of page 9, you'll see quotes from some of the employees. This year we thought it was important to share those because it helps lend a voice to the report, and it also highlights the great staff that we have at the Sheriff's Office. Pages 10 and 11, you'll find some statistical data, including an overview of the budget and stats from all 3 divisions within the Sheriff's Department. But I wanted to highlight just a few of those. So starting with our patrol operations, again, this is year 2022. There were 692 misdemeanor arrests for the main office with an additional 320 misdemeanor arrests for the city of Live Oak. There were 280 felony arrests from the main office with an additional 85 felony arrests for the city of Live Oak. In our corrections, which is our jail facility, we had an average daily population of 235 incarcerated persons with 4,900 annual bookings and more than 28,000 miles traveled by our transportation unit, and that's a lot. Support services, dispatch answered more than 78,000 non-911 related calls and more than 15,000 911 calls. Our records clerk handled more than 1,700 live scans and 480 CCW permits, as well as 1,125 CCW renewals. Pages 12 to 15 represent change to our format this year. You'll notice if you look at the bottom of that, there's the months. And what we tried to do was give a month-by-month snapshot of everything that we were working to accomplish. So here you'll see some of the community events that we participated in, cases that we worked, and other festivities that we were involved in, like the Yuba-Sutter Fair, for example. National Ice Cream Month, we served ice cream at the Sheriff's Department for our staff. So just a lot of good things that are going on. Pages 18 and 19 highlight our annual art contests and those winners. This past year's theme was the Yuba City Water Tower, and here we highlight some of the amazing art from the kids in our community. And I think Supervisor Flores, I'll probably give you an opportunity. Where is that water tower located?
In the heart of Sutter.
In the heart of Sutter County, that is correct. The pages that follow cover a variety of community engagements that we had throughout the year at the Sheriff's Department, and I'll just kind of share with you a few of my personal favorite ones as we get to that. So we had a Star Wars movie night, which was for our staff. We brought in a movie screen outside in the parking lot, and we allowed the staff to bring their kids, and everybody dressed up like their favorite Star Wars characters. So that was a fun night to celebrate with our staff. The Special Olympics Torch Run, which is something we're involved in and we participate in every year. Some of those photos are highlighted there. Trunk or Treat, which is something that we do every year for the kids in our community, all through donations, primarily members of the Sheriff's Department donating candy out of their pockets to, and we get thousands and thousands and thousands of bags of candy that get donated, so it's a great thing. And then Shop with a Cop, which I think everyone is familiar with. That's kind of our marquee event that we do every December in partnership with Walmart and so many other great community partners to help underprivileged kids in our community make sure that they have a good Christmas. The final pages cover a list of the many goals that were achieved over the past 4 years. And so that kind of completes the report. I want to acknowledge just a few people real quick before I conclude. So first, our CAO, Steve Smith, and his office. Leanne, thank you for all your continued support. I know sometimes budget conversations are tough, but I always appreciate you taking the time to do that with me. I want to say thank you to all our other department heads. I think it's important to know that the Sheriff's Department does not function without so many other people in other departments. And this is just a representation of the sum of a lot of great work that's occurring by others. Some of the departments include Development Services, Health and Human Services, of course, who manage our jail contract for medical services, our Human Resources Department, General Services, Probation, our District Attorney's Office, and that's just to name a few. And we couldn't do it without the support of so many others. So thank you, everybody, for your partnerships. I do appreciate it. I'd like to thank the board for their continued support, not just here in this room, but outside in the community as well. I did notice as we were putting this together that there are a lot of photos of board members interacting with members of the Sheriff's Department. I think that just validates how much you support public safety and that you're out in the community as well, so thank you. And then lastly, I think it's important that I want to thank the community members for their constant support of public safety. We exist because all of you, and we are here to serve you, and that's something that's never lost on us. We don't take that lightly, and we certainly don't forget it. So I hope that the community, as they have a chance to review this report, will find it informative. And then lastly, I just want to say that being Sutter County Sheriff is something that I take a great deal of pride in personally. I'm extremely proud of those that I have the opportunity to work alongside every day. They make my job all the more entertaining and fun, and I do appreciate my staff. They do a tremendous job, and I'm glad we could produce a report that I think captures all the hard work they do, but also showcases the spirit of the Sheriff's Department. And so with that, I'll conclude my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions from our board.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. Thank you for the great presentation. Any questions from the board?
Through the chair.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
I just want to commend you on a job well done and the community involvement, because I believe it really does detour some of these young youth, and because they see the involvement, the squirt gun, that was an awesome event. Great event.
That one's pretty fun.
Yeah, everyone was soaking wet. If you accidentally left your cell phone in your pocket, you were buying a new phone.
Yeah, so I was prepared this year. The previous year I showed up just to observe, and that lasted all of about 30 seconds. Apparently, when you wear the stars on your collars, that makes you a target. So.
All right, if questions?
Oh, no, I just was bummed I didn't get my awesome Ghostbusters outfit at the trunk or treat. Wasn't in here, but that's...
No, that one's framed at the office.
Okay.
Again, thank you on a great presentation. I think it would be nice to be able to have a even further in-depth breakdown and seeing how many folks from the city actually use these services.
Sure. Yeah, I can tell you through the CAO's office, there's conversations. In fact, Steve and I are having a meeting tomorrow to discuss some of that. And I've been in contact with Leanne, and we've pulled some statistical data and provided some of that information already. So there are already things in progress.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right, moving on to item 25.
Approval of 2 independent contractor agreements in the amount of $158,007 and $161,360 with REY Engineers Incorporated to design and prepare the construction documents for sidewalk improvements along Acacia Avenue and Township Road, respectively. Authorization for the Director of Development Services to execute and administer the agreements, and approval to waive the requirements for a request for proposal for independent contractor selection under the provisions of Sutter County Ordinance Code 16-060.
Good afternoon, Chair and Supervisors. So with these contracts, we're looking to try to address a couple issues within Sutter County. The first item and the first contract is for a sidewalk design along the western portion of Acacia Avenue, essentially from the Union 76 station at State Route 20 up to the Sutter Bike Path. So the Sutter County General Plan calls Acacia, or proposes that Acacia would become essentially an arterial, and so with that it requires sidewalks. And so there has been a commercial truck yard that was approved a few years ago, and as a condition of their project, they have to put in frontage improvements. In order to put in those frontage improvements, the county needs to at least have the location of the sidewalk designed. So with this contract, that sidewalk would get designed, and then because of the essentially deferred improvement agreement is what it's called, we'd be able to notify the property owner and have those frontage improvements done. Just north of that subject property, the county is in the design phase of a new road yard for our road crew. And so the design of this sidewalk is going to be incorporated into the design as far as the driveways and that location into our new road yard facility there on Acacia Avenue. Then the remaining portions of the sidewalk, the county can either I can come before your board and we can put the sidewalk in at our discretion, utilizing county funds, road funds, or we can essentially wait for some type of development and improvements. For example, north of the bike path, there's been improvements and there's been sidewalk put there. So that's the reason for this contract. The second contract is in the vicinity of Franklin Elementary School at the corner of Township and Franklin Avenue, and it may help if we pull up. Within the staff report, it includes an aerial, and I'll try to identify. That's Acacia. So that's the section of Acacia Avenue that received the sidewalk. So this is an area of Township Avenue that historically has had flooding issues. It has just a lack of drainage, and so the property owners on the east side of Township Road, essentially the road shoulder, and has no drainage, so the water just puddles. With the drop-off for the students of Franklin Elementary School, a number of parents park on the east side of Township Road and then walk their kids across the busy roadway. So what we're looking to propose to do here is put in sidewalk, curb, and gutter, essentially have it designed first, and that's what this contract would do, so that essentially where the red lines are, we would put in new curb, gutter, and sidewalk, and that would address the drainage, and it would provide more of a dedicated parking area for parents to be able to drop off and pick up their school children. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, seeing no speaker cards, bring it back to the board for questions.
Through the chair.
Supervisor Ziegmeyer.
No, I think it's many years in the making. I mean, that's gonna be a big safety feature right there. Especially, I see it all the time. You know, in the morning, in the afternoon. You yourself had a daughter that just graduated from there, and that's huge. Good work.
Through the chair.
Through the chair. Go ahead, Dan.
Supervisor.
Okay. So, Neil, so this is just the engineering and the planning. When do you think that any of the project will be built? I mean, some of it probably fairly quickly, some of it further out. When do you think it'll be done, and what do you think the estimated cost will be?
So should your board approve the contract today, the consultant would probably have both of the designs done within about 6 months. As part of the design process, they're going to develop construction estimates, and my staff would be working through the design process with the consultant so that we keep in check with what the estimates would be. So improvements that are in the vicinity of a school district can potentially always be eligible for some type of state funding, state grant programs for school safety. So that's one aspect, and I think as we've shared with your board before, it's always better to be shovel ready. So you kind of have to have the design done, and you're just ready to go should the funding present itself. So that's kind of why we're taking this step. It is utilizing county road funds to develop or for both of these contracts. But we would come, like I say, as part of the design, it would provide an engineer's estimate for the work, and then we would look for the funding source. For the improvements along Acacia Avenue, the sidewalk, so the sidewalk in front of the existing truck yard is to be paid for by that property owner, no county funds. The sidewalk improvements that will be in front of the county's road yard would be paid for by the county, the road department, when we move forward with the construction of the road yard following the design and the presentation to your board.
Thank you. Supervisor Flores.
Move approval of the recommended action.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegmeyer? Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye. All right, motion carries. Item 26.
Approval of final contract change order number 6 in the amount of $182,111.71 as part of the construction contract with All American Construction Incorporated for the fiscal year 22-23 road overlay project, project RR 31002302N.
Honorable Board of Supervisors, my name is Scott Riddle. I'm with Senior Civil Engineer with Development Services. So the construction for the fiscal year 22-23 road overlay project began on April 24th, 2023. The contract change order number 6 is the final change order for this project and accounts for increases in quantity and materials from actual on-site conditions compared to the construction drawings. The total cost of CCO number 6 is $182,111.71, which exceeds the remaining change order authority of the director as set forth by the Public Contract Code. The final cost of the SB1 funded improvements are anticipated to total about $2,486,010, which is less than the budgeted amount and includes contract savings in the amount of $52,954.46. Overall, the project was completed in June 15th, and it did come in under our budgeted amount. Are there any questions?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, seeing no speaker cards, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegmeyer? Aye. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye. Motion carries. Item 27.
Approval of the large lot final map for Lakeside at Sutter Point, Phase 1, and acceptance of dedications.
So this action obviously involves the Lakeside to Sutter Point development. This is termed the large lot phase 1 final map. My staff has been working with the build team obviously for quite some time, pretty much since November of 2020 when the board approved the development agreement. So maybe there's a few aspects about the project and the map that I'll highlight. And part of it is to essentially explain, why we're here and what this map provides. So this is a large lot final map. There's going to be at some point a small lot final map. So this large lot final map essentially gives the developers the opportunity to fund and finance the infrastructure improvements. I probably should have you go to... So this is essentially, as you may be aware in your map package, the map itself is actually 20 pages. This is essentially the main page of the map that identifies what is broken out. And essentially there are lots for 1,464 total homes. There's just under 11 single-family homes, and then there's the medium density and high density. One of the key aspects of this phase that you may remember is this is an active adult community. So these lots, these properties are deed restricted so that members, their citizens that live there are 55 and older. Maybe something for clarification. So the school districts that are affected by this project, both the Pleasant Grove Elementary and the East Nicholas High School, I both personally notified both of them of this action today in advance of the agenda to make them aware of what we were doing. But previously, because of the board's approval of the development agreement that allowed this phase 1 to be active adult, essentially any potential impacts to both school districts are greatly minimized. Secondly, an item about this map is on, like I said, there's 20 pages here. On page 3, which is the page previous to this, my staff worked with the development team, and we had a specific map noted because I think people get concerned that, with this map approval by your board, should you approve it today, that then the project is just going to continue and the county loses control. So I'm going to read a note that's on the map. And it says, this large lot final map carries no development rights. This is note 13 on the map. It's a little hard for you to see. The lots created by the filing of this large lot final map will carry no development rights. To obtain development rights, the terms of the project's conditions of approval shall be met, and the secured infrastructure or the required infrastructure shall be constructed and or secured pursuant to the improvement plans titled Lakeside at Sutter Point Phase 1 Infrastructure, or as otherwise approved by the Director of Development Services. So both my department and the building development team came up, like I say, with this note to just kind of clarify what the approval of this map would be. And like I said, what this map allows, I think as your board is aware, there's to service, we'll say the 1,464 potential structures, there needs to be infrastructure, roads, water lines, sewer lines, storm drain lines, and all that needs to be constructed. This type of project is kind of the first of its kind for Sutter County, in typically that most of the developments, all the developments in Sutter County typically don't have development agreements because they're not that complex. And then additionally, the county's subdivision ordinance refers to the final map. And what we're trying to clarify with this note and for your board's understanding and members of the public and the affected school districts is that there's going to be another final map. It'll be termed the small lot final map. And at that time, all of the financial documents that are associated with the construction and the revenues from the properties and the HOAs that are going to pay for the maintenance of the properties and such, and then what the county is going to pay for our infrastructure, as well as the emergency services, the sheriff and fire services for the lakeside development will all come before your board prior to that map's approval. So like I said, this is something so that the development team can work to begin to construct the infrastructure. Included in your staff report is kind of a reference to villages 9 and 10 and some deviations that they made from the Sutter Point specific plan for this type of development. So the Sutter Point specific plan, while it envisioned that there could be an active adult communities within the whole specific plan, because this project is actually doing it, the build team came to the county and asked for some slight deviations to the specific plan that make the properties more marketable. And so within the specific plan, I myself and the director am authorized to approve minor deviations. And so prior to this matter coming before your board, my staff reviewed all of the subject changes, which we've actually identified in the staff report, and they're included, and I may point a few of them out to you. But essentially this PowerPoint, one, it identifies where units 9 and 10 are. So for everyone's benefit, so at the, let's see how I do this. Wow, this is crazy. So the southwest corner of, this is the southwest corner of the development along Riego Road, the north side of Riego Road. And this is predominantly where the development is going to start. And all of this is essentially where the developers are starting. Units 9 and 10 are two aspects of the project where they they want to be able to offer a variety of housing products to potential buyers. And so phase 1 is an active adult community, but there are different sizes of houses that active adult citizens may want to purchase. So let's see. Oops. So previously, you've seen this slide. This was essentially we specified what the roads are going to look like within the development, and the fact that there's a 6-foot sidewalk on the one side of the roadway. Essentially, my department once again worked with the development team to go for a 6-foot wide, so that, for example, a couple could walk hand in hand along a sidewalk and be able, as opposed to narrower sidewalks, don't essentially allow people to comfortably walk on a sidewalk. Here's an example of an existing project constructed in, obviously, El Dorado Hills. But I wanted to give you a sense of what the development is going to look like. For if you haven't been to an active adult community, these are some example photos of what both the backyards may look like and some of the front yards. I myself have personally visited active adult communities, and you find that the residents there typically have maybe other interests in maintaining a very expansive landscaping in the yard, and so consequently they want living space both inside and exterior, out of the sun and that can be shaded, and they like smaller backyards that still allow them to have some outdoor space. And some of the deviations that are specified are to allow the houses to be moved in within the standard setbacks. Once again, this is what the front yard looks like. One of the deviations is to allow for the house to be within 18 feet of the back of sidewalk as opposed to 20 feet. So, typically in these type of developments, you're not going to see a lot of large SUVs, large trucks. People normally have, pickup trucks. They may park them inside the garages. They typically, certainly may have cars and automobiles or SUVs, smaller versions. Not a lot of parking on the street. Right? Visitors come, visitors go, but typically the CC&Rs for the development kind of restrict what does and does not happen in the front yard in order to maintain a certain appearance. And all of the buyers of the community kind of know what they're getting. And as you may be aware, these type of developments are highly successful in a variety of, one in California, but in other states as well. Once again, here's a little bit of graphic that shows a little bit about the rear setback. I think one other thing I wanted to point out is that, so like I said, I previously had provided the notice to both the school districts that your board was going to be considering this map today. So earlier today, I received an email from the superintendent for East Nicholas High School that's been provided to all of your board members and our supervisors, and I have printed copies as well if there's any misunderstanding. There is one thing maybe to help clarify. And I think once again the biggest point maybe that I can clarify for everyone's benefit is regarding the school district and the type of mitigation agreements and stuff that they're undergoing, is that because this is an active adult community and the kind of the Lakeside project has evolved because of market conditions and those type of things, that because there's not an impact onto the school, the impacts of the mitigation agreement, the school mitigation agreement, is somewhat different. There's potential other phases to the Lakeside project, phases 2 and 3, and those are not being considered today by your board. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, we have a speaker card. John Ed, the Alani. Is the mic on? Push a button right there.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Junaid Alani. I work with Lozano Smith, and we are legal counsel for the East Nicholas High School District. I appreciate staff's communication regarding the matter today and taking the district's position under advisement, and in general, the effort on the county and the staff's part to understand the district's perspective on this development and its impact on the children of the community, current and future. This is not the first time someone from the district has been before this board to talk about the Lakeside development. And you all have a copy of the email, so I will not bore you with the details. But unfortunately, this really boils down to an issue of accountability. By approving this large lot final map today, while active adult units do have a lesser impact on school districts, it follows a general trend of where the East Nick High School District and the developers have not had substantive negotiations on a mitigation agreement in almost over a year. And by approving this map and allowing this project to move forward currently, it magnifies the ability of the developer to move on without engaging with the district further on reaching a mitigation agreement. We have been doing this for 3 years now, and while phase 2 and phase 3 might be some time away, if it takes us another 3 years to get into an agreement, we may not be in time to receive those kids. And so we ask, and the district asks today, that you deny the large lot final map in its entirety, or in the alternative, approve it on the condition that the developer engage substantively with the district on negotiating a supplemental mitigation agreement to mitigate the impact of development on the high school district, to ensure the district can have safe, optimal, and adequate housing for the children of the community. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other speaker cards on that item, does anybody like to comment?
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is George Carpenter with Wing Communities. We're the one of the project developers on this. And, East Nicholas' appearance here is just kind of par for the course, a continued effort at leverage. And, I've talked to the county and continued to explain the problems that we've had. Their positions have, wanting to negotiate, but they don't want to change any of their positions. And it's just, we're in a situation where they're forcing us to go where we are now, taking land use authority away from Sutter County, and it's just unfortunate that we're here. But we'd like to ask you that you do approve the large lot final map today. It is a ministerial action. As long as we've satisfied the conditions of approval, which your staff has analyzed that we have, then you should go ahead and approve it. And it allows us to proceed with financing all the infrastructure we're going to get built. We're looking forward to starting the $20 million sewer line, and that's what we're hoping to open up, not only residential development, but also the future employment uses. So we look forward to continuing to work with you on this.
Are there any other additional comments? I'll bring it back to the board for any questions. No, there's no questions. I'm looking for a motion.
No, through the chair. You know what? I've been watching these proceedings go on for the last 3 years and way before this. And it's in all of our best interest to work on those phase 2 and 3. And I was hoping you guys would have it figured out by now. I mean, I've seen the letters. We've all seen the letters. We've all had the 221 meetings. and so forth, but it's tough to sit up here to hold up this portion of it with that infrastructure. When I hear back from my constituents and what's going on in Sacramento and the development that we're sitting here waiting for it because we don't have any infrastructure. And that's the tough part, because we're not voting on these other items. We're only voting on this item that theoretically should not affect what's going on in the other phases. So just because we're voting on this option right here to not hold up one phase is different than voting on the others. And I know you made the comment in your speech that this leads to precedence into putting the other first without having a negotiated an agreement between the school district and the developer. Thank you.
All right, if there's any other questions, any comments?
Just comments.
Supervisor Conant?
Yes, to the chair. So first of all, I'd just like to take a few minutes and talk about just a few things. So first of all, the developers went through the general plan amendment process, and it was voted on by the people of Sutter County to approve this project of Sutter Point. That's been, God, almost 20 years ago, I think now. They went to the general amendment process where it was, when the general plan it was accepted. The high school mitigation fees per household, if the developer has to pay all of it, could be almost $60,000 a household. Now, they probably may not have to pay all of that, but nobody knows that for sure. That is a huge impact to the developer and a cost that would be not realistic and viable for this project. Let's look at the high school site. They now I served on that board for 8 years, and I have a vested interest. My kids went to that school. I went to that school. My father went to that school. It's a great community, and I'm torn because this is a really big project. They don't have adequate funding to do the school expansion, and it's very expensive to remodel a school, let alone in a floodplain, which that school is. Not that it's ever flooded there. That's why the school was built there, because it has never flooded there. But of course, FEMA's got better ideas. They need students in the future. However, they have about a 58% of their students right now are inter-district transfers, mostly from Plumas Lake, Wheatland, some from in South Sacramento, North Sacramento. Anyway, and those students may or may not be there at that school in the future, and if that's the case, they would need students for that school. But none of these decisions have been reached. It's imperfect knowledge. And in a way, the school district, by not having an agreement with the developers at this point, could be at a competitive disadvantage if the project moves forward past this point. And like was said, this is only large-scale map. This is not the final map. They would have to get building permits and finish all that up, which I assume would have to come to this board, which would have to come to this board again. Now let's look at the county. The county needs this development. Sutter Point has 3,500 acres of homes, 3,700 acres of industrial development. What is directly to the south of the Sutter County line? What has Sacramento County done? They put Sacramento Metro Airport in. What is in there? Multiple 1 million square foot warehouse distribution centers, generating huge revenue sources to their county. That airport is almost built out. We would be a logical expansion for industrial development in South Sutter County right next door. This project is right near Interstate 5, International Airport, Sacramento downtown. It's a great project. The county spent a lot of money over the years developing and moving forward with this development. The developers have paid every step of the cost of their part. But Sutter County has went, and we pushed for We have the Natomas Basin Conservancy, which provides habitat for restoration for special species, endangered species, and has development property easements for the property development. The county put up money for the Riego Road overpass, which the developers will refund when they move forward with their project. But it is critical that the county moves forward with this development, but I do not want to tie the hands of the school district, and I want the developers and the school districts to go back to the table and work this out and figure out a solution. And I think they can get there, but we need to get there. And so that's my comments. Maybe a little too long.
Yeah, I agreed. All right. All right, let's call for a motion. So no further comments or questions. I'd like to call for a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier? Yes. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Motion carries. Item 28.
Authorization of Amendment Number 9 to the existing professional services agreement with T.Y. Lin International to increase the not-to-exceed amount to $1,995,373 for the Housley Road Bridge Replacement Project, and authorization for the Director of Development Services to execute the amendment.
Thank you. So for this item, it is obviously in regards to the design for the replacement structure of the Housley Bridge, which is a bridge on Housley Road, east of State Route 99, just west of actually of the Pleasant Grove Elementary School. And so the project design was originally approved by your board for a contract in 2016, and it was intended to be completed about 2020. But it has not been due to environmental issues and COVID issues. So myself got with the consultant to find out what it would take to complete the actual design in light of some of the environmental challenges that we've had. I think you may, your board member, I was here previously last year, seeking to try to get the consultant to be able to do, they have to do soil borings within the drainage canal. And they were not able to do that last fall because the state did not provide the permit in time. So they recently provided the permit at the end of June, and so consequently we're now trying to get the drilling done before November 1st of this year. So this is an amendment in order to get the full design completed, and my department will be going back to Caltrans seeking the additional funds from the federal government because they pay 88.53% for design of bridge replacement projects. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no speaker cards, are there any questions from the board?
Through the chair.
Supervisor McKelly?
I just want to be clear, this is all state money. This isn't affecting our general fund at all because I'm looking at those amendments and they go on forever.
Right.
This is drug out for a long, long time.
So bridge replacements are typically done with either road funds or a combination of road funds and federal funds. The federal funds through FHWA are administered by Caltrans District 3 local assistance. And that's essentially, there's actually still money on the existing contract that's still federal funds available, but it's just in order to complete the design by June of 25. So that's what it's going to. This bridge is just shy of 300 feet long, and one of the main delays of the project has been that the Army Corps of Engineers is reconstructing the levee of Natomas Road from Housley to Sankey. Their redesign delayed the project, just the design, for about 2 years while they determined the water surface elevation in the canal. So, and there's a lot of other challenges. So we have had to coordinate the design of the abutment with their levee construction. And as you may know, the levee construction is taking place. But yeah, the federal government typically provides 88.53% funding for both design and construction. But first you have to complete the design, get an estimate, and then you see construction.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, Supervisor Conant.
So obviously this bridge is in God's country, so we probably need to do it. But anyway, it's functionally obsolete. It's too narrow, right, Neil? And it as development has occurred mostly in Placer County, it seems like Housley Road has more and more and more traffic on it. And it is way too narrow of a bridge for that much traffic, and it's functionally obsolete. So I move that we move and recommend staff's recommended action approval.
It's moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier? Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item 29.
Approval of a memorandum of understanding with Habitat for Humanity Yuba-Sutter Incorporated for the provision of administering Department of Social Services Community Care Expansion Capital Project funds in the amount of $1,540,159 for the period of July 1, 2023 through December 31, 2026, and approval to waive the requirement for a request for proposal per the provisions of Sutter County Ordinance Code, Section 16-050.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. Sarah Eberhardt-Rios, your Health and Human Services Director. And today we're asking for your consideration of an approval of an MOU with Habitat for Humanity to administer funding from the California Department of Social Services to support our local licensed adult residential facilities operating within Sutter County. The MOU would be for a total of $1,540,159 for the period of July 1st of 2023 through December 31st of 2026. In June of 2020, the California Department of Social Services notified county health and human services directors that there were funds available to help with residential facilities operating within our counties, and specifically to help those facilities meet licensure requirements connected to their physical plants or buildings. Licensed residential facilities have both program and physical plant requirements, of course, that are connected to licensure. There are 22 such facilities operating within Sutter County, and they provide a range of services from board and care type services to skilled nursing facility services. The facilities must be in good repair, have appropriate kitchens and bathrooms, walkways, physical exteriors, roofs in good repair, and this funding would support those needed repairs. The facilities are typically serving folks who are seniors and persons with disability, who also are low income. Over the past several years, across the state, these types of facilities have been closing because the cost of business has been prohibitive and they've been unable to reinvest in their physical plant. And so as a result of those closures, the California Department of Social Services has deployed this funding under the Community Care Expansion Program, or the CCE program. And so those 22 facilities operating within Sutter County host a total of 615 residential beds for our region. And those beds are used by Adventist Health Rideout, Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health, our homeless service providers, Alta Regional, and other healthcare and nonprofit service providers. The California Department of Social Services has emphasized that they view this funding as homeless prevention. And so the funding is a bit unique in that it does require expertise with construction, projects and management, knowledge of the local construction labor and supply market, and it's required to be liquidated by December 31st of 2026. And HHS and our assessment of this funding determined that we did not have the internal expertise to administer the funding, and Development Services did not have the internal capacity to administer the funding to these 22 facilities. We also spoke with multiple counties and the California Department of Social Services to see if they could find a regional approach, contract with a regional provider that could do this. Ultimately, the state was not successful in doing that. So we also spoke with several nonprofit and partner agencies to see if they had the interest and expertise to administer these funds. And Habitat for Humanity was the only provider that had both the experience and interest to administer this funding. And so as such, and pursuant to Section 16-050 of our Sutter County Ordinance Code, we are requesting the board's consideration to waive the requirement for an RFP for these funds. This item has no impact on County General Fund, and Health and Human Services will be working collaboratively with Habitat for Humanity to support them in the administration of this item. And John Nicoletti, Deputy Director for Habitat for Humanity, and myself are here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, seeing no speaker cards, are any questions from the board?
Through the chair.
Supervisor Flores?
Move approval of the recommended action, please.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier? Aye. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, item 30.
River Bottom Levee Road Shanghai Bend donation acceptance and California Environmental Quality Act determination.
Afternoon, Honorable Chair and board members. I'm Ken Sarah, General Services Director. So this item is the river bottom land donation and CEQA determination. Our recommendation has three parts. It's recommended that the Board of Supervisors, 1, approves the resolution for acceptance of donation of real property located along Levy Road south of Shanghai Bend Road, and 2, find that the acquisition of the property is not subject to CEQA under CEQA guidelines section 15061B3, and number 3, authorize staff to take all steps necessary to acquire the donated property. Okay, just as some background, you can see on the map on the screen, the state of California owns the roughly 142.54 acres of land. Like I mentioned, it's near Levy Road and south of Shanghai Bend Road. The land falls within the unincorporated part of Sutter County and also the incorporated part of Yuba City. There's 4 parcels there. 2 are within the city limits and the other 2 are county. So you can see the 4 parcels on that map. The recommendation to accept the land donation is for the future public purpose of the Feather River Side Channels Restoration Project. The Feather River Side Channels Restoration is a project that's being developed and managed by the Sutter County Resource Conservation District. And I'm joined by Mr. Mike Johnston from the Resource Conservation District, who can help answer questions later. The project right now is currently in the planning phase, and it seeks to restore 3.5 river miles on the west bank of the Feather River. So also important to note is that as part of this potential land acquisition for a public purpose, Development Services obtained determinations of general plan conformity from both the Sutter County Planning Commission on the 19th of July and then the Yuba City Planning Commission on the 27th of July. For the environmental part of it, the analysis, really important, no physical changes are authorized with this land acquisition. So since there's no changes authorized to the property, physical changes, it's not subject to CEQA. Any potential future use of the property by the Feather River Side Channel Restoration Project or any other use that the board determines would then be subject to a CEQA compliance review, but at that time. Fiscal impact for this project, the land is valued at $357,000. That appraisal was completed in October of 2022. The county's portion for the transaction type fees that would be related to these to this acquisition are estimated to be around $2,000. And if approved, county staff will proceed with the process to complete the donation, which is expected to occur sometime in mid-August, so just around the corner. That concludes the presentation.
All right, we do have a speaker card. Francis Coates.
Hello, I'm Francis Coates. Nobody's talked about the costs and obligations the county is going to take on. If the county takes this on, they're going to have to maintain and operate that land until you do something else, just the way Fish and Wildlife has. You've got the residents of the subdivision next door who are very unhappy with the level of services that Fish and Wildlife has put up. In terms of CEQA, hope you understand, if you stop and change the use now, if you cut back, if you restrict access, whatever, then that's going to trigger CEQA before you have any plans. Okay. You're also faced with the Wildlife Conservation Board's tentative agenda indicates they're going to require that this land be used for recreation, habitat, and access to the river. They're going to require that you continue that use. You're not going to be able to change that. And probably if you do try and change it, they will have the right to undo the whole transaction and take the land back. Other things that burdens that nobody's considered yet, if you get that land from the state, it will come burdened by a public right to fish that you have very little opportunity to regulate. Public right to go onto that land and fish. You'll also have easements probably imposed by the state for access to the river. The state's faced with laws that require that. They really shouldn't have a choice. The other question is, for the time being, why would the county take on this financial burden and the political headache when this is the state's burden? The state should have paved that parking lot by now. The state should have put lights up in that parking lot by now so it would be less likely to have bad things going on at night. The state should be paying for the garbage pickup and the litter pickup. The state should be paying for more law enforcement. But you're going to get stuck with that. The county's going to get stuck with that. And I didn't see anything in the documentation discussing how much this was going to cost in perpetuity possibly, if you take on this burden. Nobody's bothered to tell you or the public how much it's going to cost or what strings are going to come with it when it comes. There's no deed's been written yet. We'd have no idea what the deed from the state's going to look like, what's going to be in it. That might be unpalatable. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time, or your comments. All right, are there any questions from the board? All right. Cool. Call for a motion.
Well, I do have one question. So to address Mr. Coates' question on the maintenance of the property, can you address that portion of it? I know there's a lot of other things, but the ongoing maintenance, what's been taken into consideration on that?
So I think the grant that they're applying for right now is for the planning phase. Future grants are going to hopefully cover maintenance and other operations, but maybe Mike, if you wanted to add anything, please feel free.
Thank you, Board. Let me just say that I think this is probably one of the greatest gifts that Sutter County can ever receive. It's 142 acres of riverfront property along the Feather River, one of Sutter County's most precious resources. It's been neglected over the years. It's covered with invasive plants. It has numerous opportunities for recreation and access to the river. The project itself is, the additional 142 acres is actually an addition to a project that we started 3 years ago. The Resource Conservation District wanted to restore the Feather River. We started the process, and it's a long process to get through the things that you need to do. And we've got to the point where the Wildlife Conservation Board is in a position where they're going to give us about $2 million for the design of the project. As I think you've heard earlier, before you can get one of these projects done, you've got to have the design. That's what we're working on now. We have the Department of Water Resources is on board with the project. We have 2 federal agencies that are on board with the project. We have environmental biologists and engineers that are on board with the project right now. And what we plan to do with it is restore the river. What we're going to do is remove the invasive plants that are there, replace them with native plants that have the same DNA as the river. And additionally, and during the research for this project, I found out that that portion of the Feather River that runs from the Yuba City boat dock all the way down to the end of the Fish and Game Wildlife property that they'd like to donate to us, has natural fish channels. As I think a lot of you know if you fish at all, the salmon fishing industry has been shut down this year because of the almost extinction of salmon in the area. The Feather River in our area has been designated as the best place in California to establish salmon juvenile habitat. there's natural side channels that run along the river, and we intend to include that in the project too, so that we were going to reestablish this area in Sutter County as being one of the best fishing areas in the country. We're going to restore that. It should take probably 3 or 4 years to get it completed. Additionally, the property is not going to be changed at all. It is recreational property. It's open to the public. It's always been open to the public. If anything's going to be done to it, is the public access will be improved. The access that's already there is what's going to stay in place. You have an access at the Yuba City Boat Dock, you have an access at Whitaker Hall, and you have an access at Shanghai Bend Road parking lot. This is going to be, I think, one of the most important additions to Sutter County, and it's going to be something that everybody in this county is going to be proud of. If you haven't had a chance to get down and look at it, please do. I urge the board to approve this, and let us get busy with the design projects, which we'll bring back to you. This is going to be of no cost to the county whatsoever. And I can tell you the income and the benefit to the county will also be improved economically. The design bid is going to, a grant will be for approximately $2 million. Construction is going to cost around $5 or $6 million. It's going to improve the economy of the county, and it will improve the accessibility of the river, and it will be one of the hottest fishing areas in the state. I guarantee you that. Thank you.
Through the chair, just one other comment. I just want to say, Mike, I want to thank you for your volunteer commitment to this project from the beginning. I know I've been with you from the beginning, and I appreciate all your perseverance. I look forward to seeing a great project at the end of the day. With that, I'd like to move approval of the recommended action.
Okay, I have one comment, question or comment. So Mike, I, like Dan, ditto for everything he just said, but my question is, how reasonably sure are you that we're going to get the grant for the design and the grant for construction? And maybe you can go into details on a little bit of that.
I never say anything's a guarantee until I have it in my hand for 2 days. When we started this project 3 years ago, we started looking for grant money for different phases of it. And what we're going to do is recreational grants. We could not find any. I found out in researching this, and we had applied for some different grants, that Tehama County Resource Conservation District had just done a similar project up on Battle Creek. I went up and visited that a few weeks ago. They're doing the same thing. They're restoring part of their section of the Sacramento River, and they're putting in these salmon fish habitat side channels. They volunteered to help us, and they've been helping us along with the project, get it started, tell us what to do and where to go. We also had a meeting with the WCB staff before we decided to apply for the grant. We told them what we were going to do, told them that they had already granted the money to the Tehama County side channel project, and we wanted to do the same thing. They told us that they could not guarantee that they would approve the grant application, but they requested that we work on the full grant application while we're putting in the requests, because they couldn't say they were certain, or they couldn't say they were going to give us the money for sure, but they said, please get this in as quick as you can so we can take a look at it. I can tell you the WCB wants to do this, and the reason is because of the salmon population. The side channels are what are going to make the salmon come back. That's where if you don't know what they are, there's the side channels along the river. As the juvenile salmon come down, they take these side channels and they drop into them, and that's where they feed and they grow until they're strong enough to get into the river. It's a fantastic project, and I can tell you that it's going to be funded. It's going to be funded not only for the design, but it's going to be funded for the construction. It's one of the most important projects for the Conservation Board in the state. I can tell you that they've already awarded something like $500 million for these projects, for the rearing fields and now for the side channel projects.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Looking for a second.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Aye.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
All right.
Yeah, Mike, sorry, I just want to, Mr. Johnson, I just want to thank you as well for your continued efforts in making this all happen. It's been a long time waiting, and we really look forward to the project, but thank you. All right, moving on to item 31.
Direct staff to pursue an agreement with the Lou Edwards Group and FM3 Research Services related to updated service priority and community support assessment and informational communications and potential future ballot measure preparation.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Supervisors. Steve Smith, County Administrator. So some history on this. In 2022, I gave many presentations throughout the county in both cities and the unincorporated area regarding the state of Sutter County finances, particularly in the areas of public safety, with a focus on County Service Area F, which is Sutter County Fire, or CSAF, and the Sheriff's Office as well. In the recent past, the grand jury has issued reports on CSAF and its ongoing budget issues. And each year they also review the jail, and they've made recommendations there, recommended improvements as recent as this year, which will be coming to the board soon with the response to that report. So during my presentations in the community, I discussed the unique nature of Sutter County, that 68% of the county is in a floodplain, which is nearly double any other county. That makes development of housing and, our largest generators of revenue to provide services, which is just discretionary revenue, which is industry and housing. I also mentioned that we have the second lowest employees per capita of the 31 counties under 200,000, which, 31 counties out of 58. That have under 200,000, so we have the second lowest employees per capita. On our own and in partnership with the Lou Edwards Group and FM3 Research, we conducted surveys last year to gauge citizen priorities with fire, law enforcement, roads, and even homelessness being among some of the top priorities. The cities were kept in the loop and offered shares of what was eventually the 1% sales tax measure that I recommend the board place on the ballot, which became Measure A. And that measure failed by a margin of only 1.5%. Over the past year, since that time, the counties continued to take measures to reduce costs, including a temporary closure of a library branch, holding 4 probation positions vacant, and things that the public maybe wouldn't be aware of, such as the chief and the BCs in Sutter County Fire stepping up and working shifts by themselves so that we didn't have to shut down fire stations. I really appreciate the staff and the chief and BCs for doing that. I think the public's aware, or it was a public presentation where currently the city of Yuba City is engaged a consultant to look at potential revenue measures for the city. They're still studying and going over that, so there's not a final decision there. I think it's prudent that the county do the same and re-engage and look at priorities. There's also a citizens initiative that folks are working on. If that would pass, that would be great, but it is specific to fire, so it wouldn't necessarily benefit, say, the county, like public safety overall. For example, on the slide that you'll have there, you'll see the increases over the past 4 years, and you'll see the sheriff, jail, and then CSAF on there. So CSAF shouldn't be on there technically because it's a special district. It's a county service area, which is essentially a special district. Special districts are set up to fund themselves because it primarily benefits people in that district. So we have water districts and lighting districts, drainage districts, and fire districts throughout the state. Because the board values so highly public safety, the board has put, it says 3.3 in the staff report. I thought it was 3.6, but I will check that number. But regardless, over $3 million into fire over the past several years. And we're hoping to find and working on a sustainable revenue source for fire and public safety in general. If you could go to the next page, the next slide, please. So this slide has been updated since I was giving presentations last year. It showed that the general fund over about 10 years, the net county cost had only increased about 2.3%, and it's still close to that if you check. Sorry, I can't even read the number from here. I should have the slide in front of me. But also, thanks, but I've got it here. What is it? 2.8% over, that's 2.8% cumulative over that 11 years or so, which is less than 0.25% a year that the general fund has increased. Public safety currently is at about 58%. That's gone up over that time. So I think it shows to the public where the county puts its resources, and that's into public safety. However, in the long term, with the trajectory like this, and it just is what it is, that public safety is very expensive. I explained at times when the state has realigned services to the county back in 2011, where the sheriff had to take on holding prisoners for years, many years, decade, versus how jails used to have someone for maybe a year max. Over that 10 years, our jail medical went up almost exactly 10 times. It went from about $380,000 in the budget to $3.8 million. And these are the kind of issues that we're having to deal with overall. So my recommendation is that the board consider re-engaging with the consultants to help us identify priorities of the citizens of the county, because we know we're going to have more, we're going to have tougher and tougher decisions each year moving forward, and likely eliminating services, not just being able to hold certain positions vacant, which helps, but in the long term, that's not a viable strategy. So I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions.
All right, we have a couple pieces of speaker cards. The first speaker is Deborah DeRozier.
Hello. Well, thank you for putting CSAF on the agenda again, or for the first time ever. I don't even, here we go again. Okay, so here's your agenda item where you're talking about PILT again, which is totally useless in this conversation because we don't have federal land that entitles us to PILT. So just ignore that. FEMA, I know we're in a flood zone. If you want to fix it, find out how Natomas fixed it so that they are able to build their metro air park and all their new subdivisions that are so awesome. You mentioned, Steve, you just mentioned CSAF 6 times. You mentioned CSAF 5 times in your write-up here. And you guys are the board of directors of CSAF. It's a special district, and you are the board of directors. I have not seen a meeting that you've held for CSAF to fix the funding. It's your job to fix the funding. That needs to be done. Yes, we're doing a citizens initiative, but to make it easy, you could just do it and put it on the ballot. I'll support it. I just can't believe that you sit there and you're trying to pass a sales tax again. Who knows what percentage it's going to be. Fix CSAF funding so it's sustainable forever. And if you want to do funding, a special tax for the sheriff department and probation, whatever, do a special sales tax for the sheriff. I'll support that. But if you go forward again with a general sales tax, I want you to put on your poll questions, I just saved you $154,000 with Lou Edwards. But if you go forward with your polling, I want to see the crosstabs. I want to see the questions you asked. I want to see you ask the question to people, do you understand the difference between a general sales tax and a special sales tax? I want you to ask that to people because they're starting to understand because we've been educating them. And also, this tax sharing agreement, I keep hearing different stories between the city and the county. The city says that they were never contacted about a tax sharing agreement. You guys say you contacted them. Somebody's not telling the truth here, and I'd really like to know what the answer is to that. So also, on your last polling that you did with Lou Edwards, you did not, or you told me in the PRA that you did not receive the crosstabs. I can read the crosstabs and tell you what they mean, but I tried to get copies of them from you, and you said that you didn't have them. So why would you pay for polling and not get the data that shows you what the answers really were?
To the chair, if I may, just one quick thing. I've provided the email to one of your colleagues and to the department heads showing the offer that was made to the city of Yuba City, which was 50% of the tax measure. Supervisor Ziegenmeyer, who was chair at the time, then sent another letter, which we can give you a copy of, it's public, to the city of Yuba City to offer that the offer still stood on the table. I'm not blaming Yuba City. What I'm saying is maybe they had, other considerations to look at or research to do and weren't ready to move forward at that point. But regardless, the offer was made. It's public, and happy to give you a copy.
All right. Next speaker card, we have Liz Cervantes.
I'm good. I just, if it comes up as a general sales tax, I'm gonna oppose it again.
All right, sorry, so it says here that I yield my time to Ms. DeRozier, but we can't do that.
Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. She yielded her time to me.
So I think your comments you made your comments and they've been heard, that we're gonna move on.
I'm good.
Excuse me, Chair. So our board rules of procedures are silent as to yielding time, so it would be at the board's discretion, at the chair's discretion.
So we're just going to move on. All right. So, all right, we're going to bring it back to the board for any questions or comments you might have.
Through the chair.
Where's that? Oh, sorry. We have another speaker card. All right, another speaker card. We have Stephanie Resigno.
Hi. I want to thank the previous speaker who spoke many of the same concerns I have. I want to remember an old quote that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I've been a critic of the board since the early 90s, and I know you guys weren't there. Some of you weren't even born yet, but they squandered our money. They still have. We should be able, on the current taxes, go to the library, let our kids go, they have late homework or whatever, somebody just wants to look at a periodical, do research. We don't have that. You drive on the road and it's almost like you don't have to pay the 25-cent magic finger shaking, and they get worse by the day. And there are solutions that don't cost that much. New technology. Well, how much money have you spent developing Measure A and all the other increased funding? Just on those consultants. You can ask any citizen what they want. That's your job. You were elected to say, hey, I noticed X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to listen to all you citizens. So you know what our priorities are. We want safety, but we also want extreme fiscal responsibility and prudence. We don't have that. Look at how much money we're spending on just administration. That's ridiculous. Nothing has changed. Nothing's going to get better until we address that. And as you know, the state is in fiscal default already. And if anybody doesn't think the feds are in some kind of a train wreck by the way just this last administration has been recklessly spending and the invasion of the border, nobody's going to talk about that. But that's affecting us. It's going to affect us even more. And so we approve another tax that's not a special. We have no guarantees that it's going to go where it needs to go. We want to feel safe, and you should be able to do that on an existing budget because it's going to get a whole lot worse. As we get more and more people in that are criminals, and we're not putting the criminals in jail, it's a free-for-all, and it's going to get worse. I was just at an event the other day, and I saw 2 buses, and then just a few days ago, I saw another one of people coming up from the border through our area. Where they ended up, who knows? But I tell you what, they're not well educated for one, and they only are here to be a burden on our tax system because they were promised that. A lot of them are sex trafficked. A lot of them, they were sold a bill of goods to come here. But anyway, and we got to pay for that. We got to take care of them. The point in time study, really, 1,000 homeless between both counties? I count a heck of a lot more than that. And I've been a homeless advocate for veterans for, good grief, if I say 30 years, and that dates me. But anyway, just be responsible is all I'm asking.
All right. Bring it back to the board for any questions.
Through the chair.
Supervisor Zigmeyer.
Steve, have you ever turned any constituent down for a meeting that had any questions, or staff or my fellow supervisors here that had any questions on whether it be Measure A or any information towards sheriff or anything that you knew off the head that you didn't have to go and get that information from the sheriff? Have you?
No.
Have you ever given out false information?
No. I have given out information and then had people claim that I said something else, even though I have witnesses to the contrary, which is pretty frustrating.
What happens if you don't know the answer to something? What do you do?
I just say I don't know, and I'll look it up.
That's what we all do. All right? I deal in facts. All right? I respect everyone's opinion. That's your opinion. You got every right to have that opinion. All right? And it's my responsibility to deal with numbers and facts. Not accusations. All right, if I dealt with accusations, I would have quit this job a long time ago. I mean, they say that I've been called bad names and so forth. We all have. We've all been run through the mud. You were just called a liar here after you texted me and said, hey, I emailed that letter. You were just called a liar, and very sorry for that because I know for a fact that you've sent that email. I personally sent out that email, both emails out to show that, hey, we have sent the correspondence out. We talk about levy and Natomas. We have 2 fellow supervisors here that sit on the levy districts, Sacramento, Sutter County, Sebufka. When we go back to D.C., I haven't been back yet, but when we go back to D.C., that's what we do. We lobby on behalf of FEMA and so forth because we want to get more levy money. That's what it's called. It's more money to improve the levies. And what do they tell us? They deny, say there's not enough people there in that area. There's not enough going on. And we fight them every year because we don't take no for an answer. We fight. I had an individual sit down with me yesterday in my office, ask me questions about possible, hey, Mike, what about a possible measure, this or that? What if you were to do a special tax? And I said, well, that's what these individuals do. They go out and they do surveys and they come back and they say, if you were to put a special tax that would only affect this, it would more than likely fail. But that's what they do. They go out and they do that work, just like what the city of Yuba-City is doing. They're doing the same thing. We deal with this group. And our meetings, I've had town hall meetings. My fellow supervisors have had town hall meetings, and people come to me and ask those questions. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to find the answer. I'm going to introduce you to someone that's going to have that answer. All right? Because we got to work together. And it's like it doesn't help anyone fighting amongst each other because we can all work together no matter what, no matter how upset one of us is with the other.
I guarantee you we could find common ground and figure this thing out together. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is our community. And these numbers are not lies. These are true numbers, true factual numbers right there. And I go back to what I said when I Measure A, when people said, what do you think about Measure A? I said, I'm going to vote for it. And they said, what for? Why are you going to vote for it? I said, because I know it's going to better the community and better my family. Just like I voted for the bond for Britton School and the bond for Sutter High School. I know it's going to benefit my kids. I had someone ask me 2 months ago, how come you guys don't put a measure out there that would fund resource officers? I said, that's what we talked about with Measure A when we had it. I said, we talked about the possibilities. We talked about resource officers. We talked about roads. We talked about probation and jail and fire. I said, we talked about that. If we would have talked about one specific item, then it would need a 66% plus 3/4 or whatever. And those just do the research, because I've done the research and I haven't found one that's passed. Maybe you could find somewhere, but I'm open. We are open. We want to do what's best for the county. We talk about cuts. We've cut everywhere we possibly, that I personally can see. I know my fellow supervisors have done the same thing. These guys are, from commercial, residential to farming, agriculture. I mean, we have a lot of, I would say, knowledge, and then we have staff that has a tremendous amount of knowledge in all these areas that we go to when we say, hey, what else can we cut? What can we do? And when you look at these numbers, when people say, because these numbers, I believe that, they're some of them I say false, but when I look at a number that goes up 2.8%, it doesn't account for the insurance. It doesn't account for the cost of doing business. And that's another number. It doesn't show. So theoretically, when you say it's actually a larger cut because that insurance, those go up. Those workers' comp numbers go up. So, like I said, I know I've spoken a lot here, but I'm just saying is let's deal with facts, please. Let's get together. Let's figure something out. I'm willing to sit down with each and every one of you. Deborah, I'd love to sit down with you anytime you want. No, I have not. That is, no, I don't decline any meeting. That's what I signed up for. I ran for this job because I love this community. And if I decline something, I don't deserve to be here. All right? I'm willing to sit down with you whenever you want. Love to. Hey, you know what? I respect your opinion. I do. Thank you very much.
All right. Any further questions from the board? Any comments? No further speakers. I'm looking for action.
Through the chair,
Motion. Yes.
Move approval of the recommended action.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Through the chair, just want to point out to those of you in the crowd, this is nothing to do with going for a measure. This is opening the discussion and getting weighing the pros and cons and dealing with the numbers. All right? Yes.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Item 32. Follow up.
Yes, just two quick things. One, I wanted to give the mic to Sarah real quick. She had someone to thank.
Yes, thank you, supervisors and chairman. I was remiss in my comments earlier today on the HEART team. I did not mention Maggie Kershaw, who was in the front row there. The HEART team was her idea many years ago. She serves on our Behavioral Health Advisory Board and has given us lots of good feedback, and I really wanted to acknowledge her because she saw her dream living before you today and acknowledged, and I wanted to acknowledge her. Thank you, Maggie.
Can we ask you to please come up and just join us? We just get a photo with you real quick before we.
Yeah, and I just threw the chair. I want to say you're an absolute doll. Love working with you. Loves her community. I'm on the Behavioral Health Board.
And Maggie served on the grand jury.
Ditto that. I've worked with her a lot of years. She's awesome.
And
yes,
Chair Baines, I did have just one thing. Last week, it was relevant to a comment earlier. The Department of Homeland Security came and inspected or did an audit of our voting machines and found no issues with that. Just wanted to make that announcement. We may have documents. I'd have to ask our registrar of voters if we have relevant documents for that to give to the public, but wanted to make that announcement. Thank you.
All right, before we go down to district reports, I'd like to wish two supervisors a very, very happy birthday. Today happens to be Matt Connett and Supervisor Mike Ziegemeyer's birthday, so if you all would please join me in singing them happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Matt. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, you're the chair. So.
Hey, and it, just real quick, it also is my wife's birthday, so.
Oh, happy birthday.
Birthday to Harpreet.
Yeah, right. And I guess we will start with District 1, and we'll go for.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually didn't have anything, but you beat me to it. I was just going to wish those guys a happy birthday.
All right.
So, thanks.
Supervisor Connett?
Yeah, I have two closing memories. Sorry. Two closing memories of, first of all, Charlie Bell passed away in Avenel, Colorado at age 92. He was born in Madera, California. Chuck and his wife Arlene met at a blind date at a bowling alley, and it's appropriate because Charlie used to spend a lot of time bowling over to New Generation Lane before it was closed. They moved to Rioso and in a fall farming community, and raised two children, and they grew walnuts, and of course, and he's survived by his two children, and his funeral was in Fort Logan Memorial Cemetery in Denver, Colorado, on August 1st. But a longtime resident of Rioso and a great guy. And the next one is Lawrence Thompson, who passed away in Rioso. He was 34. He passed away on July 3rd and I'm trying to do two things at once here. I'm trying to get his, let me finish with this part. He was passed away July 3rd of an electrical accident. And I'm trying to find, oh, here we go. If I can get this up. Anyway, his celebration of life is on the 31st of this month at his ranch in Nicholas at White Oak Ranch. And God, it's not cooperating. I couldn't get that printed up, but anyway, that doesn't make any difference. I'd like a letter sent in for his family as well. We are also having on the 9th tomorrow at Tenco Tractor or Holt of California in Pleasant Grove, a neighborhood watch meeting. We will have there code enforcement, the sheriff's department will be there, the CHP will be there as well, and giving various reports on neighborhood watch. And also, I'd like to bring one more thing to the attention of the public, and that is there we go. Okay. This is and I confirmed this with Lisa Herbert, our Ag Commissioner, and I'll just read this. It's a little bit bizarre. Many of you have not heard of this, but anyway, Communist China's biolab found in Fresno County. The lab was released, had pathogens and various destroyed. Their goal is to destroy farming in California. And it was at a secluded, abandoned building, and I would encourage everybody in Sutter County to keep an eye on their farming operation. If you have any abandoned buildings, make sure that nothing going on nefarious there. And the federal government is aware of it. It's being investigated by the FBI and other agencies. So our good friends, the trainees. Thank you. I'll leave it at that. What's that? Oh. Oh.
All right, Supervisors.
That's right. I read that part too.
I'd like to do some sort of certificate for the state champ Yuba-Sutter Stripes. Post 705 baseball team won the state championship. That's really awesome. I think this is team number 5 in the Yuba-Sutter area with the state championship just in the last, 3 months. It's incredible. Great season. I want to say, good luck to all the football teams and high school volleyball. Season starts, practice technically started, full practice this week, but the season starts next week. So it's exciting. We got great football here, Sutter High School, East Nick, Live Oak, and same thing with Yuba City, River Valley. I'm looking forward to watching some good football and volleyball. That's it.
All right, Supervisor Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to say thank you to Supervisor Ziegemeyer. That last topic that he spoke on eloquently, I just want to commend you. I really appreciate your comments. None of us had much to say after that, so really do appreciate those comments. We work very hard up here. Integrity and transparency is one of the biggest things that we have going, and we continue to do that. Staff, Board of Supervisors, and just being open to all the questions and concerns of the citizens all the time. So it's something that we really pride ourselves on. So you can tell we take it personally when people attack our integrity, especially. With that, I'd like to say that in the heart of Sutter County, we had an awesome time last night with the grand opening ceremony, the ribbon cutting for the Holiday Inn Express. We had Chairman Baines join us. We had Supervisor McKelly there, and we just had a wonderful time opening up the new hotel that I've been reporting on for months, that from the time as Chairman Baines mentioned last night, from the time it was in its infancy, basically when I was taking pictures of the foundation going all the way up. But it's great because after 14 years of the developer, after purchasing that hotel, or purchasing that property, there's a hotel finally on it, and there's other development about to happen in the heart of Sutter County right there as well. So we're really excited to see that occur. So thank you, Supervisors, for joining us last night for that event. And a couple of other items, I'd like to request a certificate of recognition for David Holycross for Holy Cross Memorial Services. He's been doing business in the 2nd District for 25 years. I can't believe that because I remember when he opened, so that's kind of frightening. But 25 years. If we can get recognition for that. Also, I'd like to close in memory of Brenda Robbins, 63 of Marysville. She was the owner of Copy City in Marysville. She knew a lot of people here in Sutter County as well. She had a lot of friends in Sutter County, and she did a lot of, like I said, business in Sutter County. So I'd like to make sure that we give her a letter. And then she also has her celebration of life will be this Saturday at the Elks Lodge in Marysville. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Let's see here. Tomorrow, August 9th, is Book Lovers Day. So remember to take time tomorrow to put down your cell phones or your tech devices and pick up a book and read it.
Can we read it on the cell phone?
I guess that probably counts.
Okay, just checking.
All right. And just a reminder to everybody on Thursday, 6 p.m., Sutter High School, or there's going to be the parade on?
The 10th.
Yeah, the 10th.
At 6 p.m. Looking forward to that. That's the first ever in the history of Sutter Little League girls.
The 10U softball team.
8 to 10, yeah.
Right, we're going to celebrate them and their victories. They won the area championships, section championships, and state championships.
State championship, yeah.
All right, so just a reminder for everybody to take time out, be there Thursday 6th. There's going to be a parade going from the Sutter Market to Sutter High School. Okay, let's see here. We've got a couple letters of sympathy and condolences going out. First, I'd like to have the letters go to the CAL FIRE, to the family of the CAL FIRE Assistant Chief, John Bishop. Also the fire captain, Tim Rodriguez, his family, and the pilot, Tony Souza's family, for their unfortunate loss while they were in the line of fire on their passings on Sunday. Then we have a letter of condolences sent out to family of Harry Bristow, who just passed recently. Harry was a fifth-generation Sutter County resident. He spent the last 10 years serving on Sutter County's Assessment Appeals Board. If we could please get a letter sent out to his family as well, and a letter sent to the families of Joe Sendu for his passing. And then I don't know if this is appropriate place or time to make a request. I'd like to have a time capsule set in Sutter County that where or when to be placed to be determined. I guess then when you actually would open it back up. But no, not 1 year. We need 50 years. What are you talking about? Right? And then, and again, I know that Supervisor Flores has asked for requests to recognize these businesses in Sutter County. I think that it's nice for us to recognize all the businesses in Sutter County and see what we could do to support them. This goes past our efforts as a county to help them during troubling times through COVID and that, but just make sure we do a friendly checkup on them, see how they're doing, if there's any way we could assist. But we should recognize all businesses throughout Sutter County. And I guess the last thing I have here is I'd like to invite everybody to the grand opening of the Dedar S. Baines Park, which will be on August 26th, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., 1400 Harder Parkway in Yuba City. And that's it for me. So, meeting adjourned.
Wait, no, we got a vote.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
All right.
So we need a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, but I'd like to add 3 names to do some sort of just a letter for thank you for their hard work, and that's Ron Kelly, Harsh Chata, and Frank Upton. We literally spent all day Saturday, Sunday, and yesterday working on the announcer's booth there at the high school. Those guys said, hey, we want to tape it up, paint it up, and prep her up literally 3 whole days. So I like to send something to those individuals. But make a motion to approve.
Second. Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Aye.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.